Recording. All right.
Okay, call to order this meeting of the Board of Directors of Montessori Peaks Academy for Tuesday, March 15, 2022, called to order at 6:33 p.m. And Beth, do you want to do a quick roll call?
Yes, we have board members Jack Llewellyn, Irit Mihawk, Justin Sasso, Brittany Horstman, Beth McDonald, Carmen Center, Becky Springstead, and Mr. Brian Berg, who is a non-board member, administrator of MPA. And we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We'll take note of the mission statement. Does anybody have any community comments tonight? Nope. Okay. Acknowledgements. Wanted to, of course, thank the teachers, but most principally those in primary who survived the Arctic blast and whatever conditions that may have contributed to. Anybody else have anything that they wanted to share at the moment? Okay, efficiency being the name of the day. The principal's report, here's what I'd like to do. Everybody's received a copy of it. Some of the important things are things that we're also going to discuss other places. What I'd like to do in the interest of adhering to Mr. Bryan's doctor's orders is submit the written principal's report if anybody has any particular questions, and otherwise we'll catch things as we go through the committees and can ask questions. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So we'll deem the principal's report submitted. Thank you, Brian, for all of that. And then we can move on to the Finance Committee and the budget.
Okay.
Brittany?
Hey, sorry,
You didn't know you were going to be on so quickly, did you?
I was trying to quick eat some dinner.
I'm 25
okay.
minutes ahead of schedule here.
Go, exactly. So, okay. So, the Finance Committee met twice. And as usual, Amy and Brian had done the heavy lifting with providing the information. And so we had a lot of discussions about what we wanted to plug in and recommend to the board for the per pupil revenue. Sometimes we're hearing things from the state that is a little bit higher. I don't know if there's something new from when we met last, but it was about 9,200 information coming out of the district or from the state and the district. And we didn't know how confident we were that much of an increase would happen. And so we looked somewhere between what we currently have, which would be adopting a budget on a flat PPR, no increase, versus what was kind of predicted. And we met in the middle for the recommendation, which was what you see there is $8,965. It's not as high as, like I said, it's in the middle. Then we currently had, last time we met, enrollment was 377, I think 377.5 or something. And so we looked at the second biggest factor of the budget, which is the enrollment. And so we looked at two scenarios, a scenario based on 360, which means we would lose 17 students between now and October of next year, and 355, both at the same PPR. And then, so those were the two drivers of the two scenarios that the committee wanted to present to you, with a recommendation that we adopt the 360 scenario. And included in that number, I just want to take you back for a minute. Several years ago, before COVID hit, when Dr. Gary was with us, we as a board adopted a three-step plan which was to use the funds we had gotten from the district and apply them all towards teacher salaries, not the 5B funds, but the, it was at 5A or 3, I can't remember if it was 5A or 3, those funds all towards the teacher salaries. Thank you. And to use that every year, dedicated it towards salary. And also Gary and Amy, and now Brian and Amy, did the heavy lifting to get the files for the faculty up to date so that we could take steps to equalize and get teachers and assistants pay based upon their experience and qualifications and training. It was to equalize because as staff added, so it resulted in some inequities based upon teacher experience and assistant experience. So there was a plan put in place on how we could slowly equalize, get to where we needed to be and to closer to the district salary. And that was paused. We implemented it for the first year and then it was paused because of COVID. So this year, this budget puts us back on track for the second step. We'll still need one more year after that, at least.
I think you froze, Brittany.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was just my connection.
No.
Okay.
Brittany, you might try dropping your video.
Is that better?
Just for the moment, yes.
Okay, God, so frustrating. Okay. Anyway, and then this would be reinstituting the Assistant Experience Award, which we had the first year, and then a COLA increase of 3%. We considered 1%, 2%, and 3%. And based upon the conditions and the budget that we predicted off of the 360 FTE and the per pupil revenue, we felt comfortable with recommending the 3% increase. So back on the teacher salary and assistant salary track, reinstituting the Assistant Experience Award and giving the maximum 3% COLA increase. And we would still have, if you look down at the budget, the proposed budget, we would still have more than $100,000 cushion, which, as we know, during the year, that can be eaten up by unexpected things. And Brian and Jen and Amy felt that based upon their experience, $100,000 cushion was sufficient. And they didn't feel that that was a risky move. And so the Finance Committee discussed and wanted to recommend to the board that these dollars that we did have, in excess of that cushion, be put towards getting back on track for supporting our staff and faculty with the funding that we wanted to. So that's what this, both scenario 1 and scenario 2 have the same increases in payroll and COLA and Assistance Experience Award. The only difference between the two is the FTE enrollment and that drives these budgets. Everything else is the same. If the board feels that neither one of these are acceptable for what they think, or you want to see numbers of what that looks like if we did a 2% COLA instead of a 3% or some other number, we can run those numbers for you. But this was the recommendation of the Finance Committee. And we, you know, if the board is comfortable with these two scenarios, then we should just decide, do we want to base it off 360 enrollment or 355? And I hope I gave a good overview, and I'll stop talking now so everyone else can have a discussion. Brian, please add in if I missed something or mischaracterized something.
No, you did excellent, Brittany. I just want to remind the board that we're being very conservative on the PPR. We're going with the 8,900 and some change. It could be 9,200. That will, if that happens, then that $100,000 cushion is much bigger. And so there's some built-in components that Amy and I always do to make sure that skimp and save. I won't say what those are right now, but there's cushion within the cushion, and Jen gets that. And so I think this is either scenario is very strong. I do want to, on behalf of the staff though, if you can give them 3%, that'd be great, just because healthcare is going to be up between 8 and 11%. So. Mhm.
I'd add one more thing, Brian, you jogged my memory there. In the past 2 years, because of COVID, we normally put something into our reserves. And so this would get us back on track, but my hope would be that by year 2, or if enrollment increases, that we're able to put that extra, like say we have 370 instead of 360, we would take that money and put it towards some capital improvements, HVAC or something, in addition to what, we know that the main building needs work as well. And so we have that reserve study, and I just would personally recommend that if we have some, that we get back into the practice of putting back into our reserve funds, so that we can plan responsibly for those building needs that we have that aren't going to be, no matter what we do with the 5B funds, are not going to be covered by any funds that we have currently. So thank you, guys.
Brian, you think the 360 number's a reasonable number as opposed?
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. Considering our enrollment's looking fairly good right now, and it's early, and I think barring any unpredicted event, even if that's the case, we still have solid reserves, and we also know how to trim budgets, and I can help Jen and the next principal with that as well. So again, the finance committee and I agree strongly, take care of the staff. Let's build our best budget and move forward.
Other questions for Brittany and Brian?
Are we at a point where we need to approve the budget?
Yes. It needs to go to the district by April 1st.
By when?
April 1st.
Oh, okay. So we need to do that today.
Yep.
Got it.
Nowish even.
I'm happy with scenario 1. I'm happy with the 3%. It feels comfortable with the 360 number. Hearing what I'm hearing. That's where I'm at.
Becky and I got a deep dive into the numbers yesterday with Veronica for marketing purposes, and it does look like things are ticking back up again. So I'm comfortable with that number.
Does anyone want to move?
Yeah, if nobody else has comments, I don't want to cut off discussion, but I know we're trying to be efficient, Brian. Unless there's something else, I'll move to approve scenario 1 of the proposed budget to the board for the 2022-2023 school year.
I'll second that.
All right.
And Brittany, just to be clear, the proposal is the one with the 360 enrollment
correct,
figure,
yeah.
correct?
That's
Okay.
right. Sorry, I'm just looking at it here, so I just called it scenario 1, but yes,
Yeah.
360.
No, I just wanted to kind of, for people who didn't have something in front of them, just to make sure.
Yep.
All right. Then I will just-
No, I'm so sorry. Yes, this is the motion I want to make. I forgot. Because this was a significant discussion at our last yearly, sorry guys, I'm just reading this again, at our last yearly budget. This budget includes a % an increase in the primary preschool tuition. We were severely under what our comparable Montessori and district preschools were at. I mean, significantly. So this was not an increase totally up to what the other schools are, but getting us more in the ballpark. We just felt, the finance committee felt, I think, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was fiscally responsible to recommend that increase for the value that our teachers and school provides to our kids. And also, we wanted to encourage commitment by the families that do come in, that they're committed to our school and the longer program, and not using the school for 1 year because it's simply the cheapest childcare that they can find. And so because of that, we felt the value and the market supported that. And so these budgets both include that increase. And I forgot to include that. I'm so sorry. That was a significant conversation last year about whether the board wanted to go in that direction. And I failed to bring that to your attention. So that's extra. If we need to have discussion about that before we vote, let me know.
I have a
No,
quick question about it. Are there families that have made the commitment to have a preschool at our school that were given a lower number or signed anything with a lower tuition number yet?
Not yet. It's
Okay.
just a commitment for enrollment.
Okay.
So the higher number could, change if people want to stay, because we're significantly lower. When I say significant, we're $400 or $500 lower than other Montessori schools, things like that, per month. So we want to get out of the business of cheap daycare. We want to get back into the business of being a Montessori preschool. And I don't mean to sound insultive, but we need to be competitive in our rates. We know inflation's out there, but I think we approved our rates much earlier last year, and other schools and other programs changed their rates maybe later. And so we're just trying to get in line. We're still the bargain out there. So it's a two-step. And Brittany, I wasn't sure if that was a separate vote or that's part of the whole financial package. So
If we want, because it was a good discussion last year about whether it should be done or not, we can pull that out and give the different numbers if you feel like that's not warranted. If it's not a concern, that's built in. I think that's built into the budget. And Brian, I don't think we need a separate one because the proposed budgets were including that % of increase. So
right.
Unless there's a concern only about that matter, I would be okay with just adopting the budgets as proposed, whichever scenario.
Do we recall, and I don't remember, Brittany, from the discussion, $1,200 per year. Do we know what that brings our total full day to? Does anyone?
It was now up to $840 a month, right, Brian? Is that the proposed $840 a month? We were at $700 a month, and most schools are in the 900s, or the
Right.
upper 8s or the lower 900s.
Yeah, like Stony Creek, Kendrick Lakes, nearby elementary schools in Jeffco are both $920 a month. So that's what I was trying to remember the difference. So we're still.
Yeah, and we also looked at, oh, sorry, Becky. We also looked at in the finance committee, Brian and Amy gave us numbers for the Montessori schools and the other preschools and the district rate as well. And we were by far, as Brian said, significantly lower than everybody.
The other thing I just want to bring up real quick, the before and after care need to adjust their rates as well to be competitive. We're not talking much here. We're talking maybe a few dollars on before care and a few dollars after care. I kind of feel that program runs more of a market base, but again, Lori gave me that information. We can push that to the April if we want to review those numbers, or we can kind of let her as the director of the program make changes as needed so that that program's viable as well.
I feel like she would know what is needed for that program, running it
Mhm.
for a long time.
Again, we're the best value in town. We're lower than the parks and rec departments and other programs. So,
And I think we should also, I think everybody expects increases everywhere right now. It's just the way the world's going. We've got to keep up with the costs as well. I don't think we need to apologize for it.
It does give a built into there is a sibling discount. So if they have an upper or lower L student that they want to bring over, or they have another sibling coming down the pike, they would get a discount for that sibling. But yeah, I agree with Justin that we have to be fiscally responsible. We can't run a program for free as much as we might want to. And we have an amazing value and program here. So I think that it's respectful and responsible to adopt the proposed increase.
I agree. I think, know your worth, right? I think increasing our prices a little bit, I mean, still, we could go a little farther if we wanted to, but I think this is not a big deal.
You're muted, Jack.
Brittany, do you want to resubmit your motion?
Yeah,
Or
sorry.
just-
I move to approve the scenario 1 budget based upon 360 enrollment proposed to the board for the 2022-2023 school year.
I'll second it again.
All right, I will run through everyone and ask for a yes or no vote. So I'll start with Irit. Hey. Yes. Okay. Justin,
Yes.
Brittany,
Yes.
Carmen,
Yes.
Becky,
Find the mute, yes.
Jack,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So all yes.
I will note, something came up from somebody today talking about the finances. And it leads me to be encouraged that 8965 number is conservative, which is great if it turns out to be that way. Anything else from the finance committee, Ms. Brittany, or did that cover it?
Nope, that covers it.
Super, thank you. In all seriousness, thank you to Brittany and Brian and dear departed Amy, and Jen for the work she's done. But I mean, I know that going through these numbers and stuff isn't always the easiest choices, having been on that committee before, but I think we're making great progress. So I appreciate everybody's hard work on that.
Jack, I'll just mention that the staff that was on the finance committee too, they really had great contributions, great discussion, and were great advocates for who they represented. So I appreciated their contribution, and they're willing to kind of consider alternative scenarios so that we could make sure that we recommended a good option for you guys. So sorry to interrupt and lengthen the meeting, but I just wanted to say that.
No. We still want to have a good meeting. Yeah, and I mean, it is part of knowing the work that went behind it gives all of us comfort in the approval process. So we appreciate it. Catherine is not going to be able to make it. She texted just a moment ago. So I'll do the principal search committee update, which is as follows. We've had one applicant, which was Ann Blackburn, who was a candidate when we hired Mr. Brian. She came back, obviously. She has now met with a small select group of the search committee, and then with the entire committee. The entire committee unanimously supported her being put up for consideration by the full board. Mr. Bryan spoke with her on the phone yesterday, and that is intending to meet with her in person, and she comes to the school on Friday. we being Catherine and I will send around to the board all of her materials, including the notes that Catherine has taken in the 2 interviews. But what we would like to do is to get approval from the board to try to find a date in the next week or 2 where she could meet with the entire board. Again, complete unanimous consent from the faculty committee as far as approval, or suggestion of going forward. Mr. Bryan, has said he had a good meeting with her. Some of us will remember her from before, but I think it would be valuable at this point. There's always a little bit of concern when you have one candidate to make sure that you're not, moving too quickly and things. But given her qualifications and stuff, I don't think that that's, what we're doing. And I think it would behoove the board to meet with her sooner rather than later. Since it's almost, somehow it's the middle of March. So we would just, Catherine has been in touch with her, or will be in touch with her. And then we'll get in touch with the board to try and set a date. And I don't think we need a vote necessarily, but if I could have some either concurrence or concern about taking that course of action.
Could you just say her name one more time? Did you say
Sure,
Anne
it's
Bryant?
Anne, Anne Blackburn, B-U-R-N.
Blackburn.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm
Jack,
fine with that
knowing-
process. Go.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Knowing we're going into spring break next week, and I know people are going to be out of pocket, myself included, is Thursday or Friday too aggressive?
This
No,
week?
we're gonna, the short answer is I hope
2
not.
weeks, but-
Yeah, I'm hoping not, and if it is, we'll just roll with it. But that's the hope. Again, Catherine had a personal matter or a family event, so I know she had reached or was planning on reaching out to Anne. I'm just not sure if they've spoken yet, so I don't know about Thursday or Friday. But my expectation is that we will move quickly to get people together as quickly as possible. Okay.
I'm not back until late Thursday. So is this an in-person meeting or can it be done virtually, or what are you thinking?
I think given the timing and everything, virtual is going to be best. And even if we end up doing, a second one that's in person, I just think given the timing and everything, virtual is going to be easiest.
That gives me a little bit more flexibility. And I guess for the rest of us traveling, I don't know how comfortable you are dialing in from a hotel room. I've never seen that done before, Jack.
Yeah, so far so good. I'm not sure how my neighbors feel about it, but
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Please look for emails from Catherine or myself in the next day or so, because it may be, here's some possible dates we need to move fairly quickly. So if people could look out for that. Justin, would you be willing to do a short recap of our retreat last week? Not necessarily into deep specifics, but just kind of an overview.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how deep or lightly you wanted me to touch on this, but I did have our notes and what Jennifer Douglas, who was with the Charter League of Charter Schools, put together and had us, I think was really the focus of our work, which was setting the goals. Do you mind if I roll through that real quick?
Not even a little bit.
Do you mind if I find it first? Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. It's very strange working over my left shoulder. So essentially, I thought the retreat was good. I mean, for those of us who were new, we learned about some of the projects that had been in the works, and we continued to identify goals and objectives for the school and for potentially the new school. And what came out of it was, and this is my takeaway, I assume it was everybody's, is that, you have a board of active, involved members, not just parents, but staff as well, that really want to do the best for this school in every possible way. Jennifer did a lovely job of kind of getting us to brainstorm through the processes, and there wasn't the trust fall. We didn't do the trust catch where one person falls backwards and everything. Anyway, but we did a great job with just kind of using sticky notes to kind of get rough ideas on a paper and then break it into paragraphs and walk away with some strategic goals. And that's what I'll highlight is where we ended on those strategic goals with. And Jack, are you comfortable if I just kind of run through the overall goal? We don't have to get into the objectives for each one of them, but one of them was because the physical environment, indoors and outdoors, is an essential component of the Montessori approach to education. MPA provides excellent stewardship of the MPA buildings and land, resulting in long-term sustainability of the school's facilities. So that's one of our goals. And that, by the way, for the record, encompasses both buildings. That's not love or favoritism for new, old, either way. It's making sure that the building and the land we use overall is maintained. Another goal was because the school's long-term viability is essential for offering high-quality, innovative educational programs to families in Jefferson County. MPA ensures long-term financial stability and health through strong enrollment, effective financial stewardship, and contingency planning, which Brittany, I think you just presented a great budget that's got a lot of that in mind. We're still making sure we're padding, and Brian, I love the way you said we're padding within the padding to make sure that we don't end up on the rails and really, in a concerning area. So finally, because we are not finally, this is second to last, because we value our employees as our greatest asset and essential for fulfillment of our mission and vision, MPA attracts and provides a sustainable and supportive work environment for leaders, teachers, and staff. And I think we would all agree that not only is it extremely important to maintain who we have, but it's going to be important to find quality staff moving forward. And that's going to be even more difficult given the time and the great recession and everything else that's going on in our world right now. So that's another big goal for us. And then the fourth one was because we recognize the importance of creating an inclusive environment where all students and families feel they belong and students can thrive academically. And because we recognize the impacts of the pandemic on our school community, MPA strategically invests in community building as the foundation for school and student success. So in all of this, it's financial stability, it's staff, it's the building and land we have, and it's the community outreach and continuing to maintain a prime example in our community as a great school and great leadership. So I won't get into all the objectives, but then we kind of broke down into the steps to take, or at least we feel will get us to these goals. And the long term for us is that we will work towards more strategic planning benchmarks that we can measure the steps that we take or the steps we want to take to get to the goal with a more set timeline. And that's something the board will continue to work on. But I thought it was great that, in an 8-hour day, we were able to get that much pinned down. And there wasn't a lot of wishy-washy. We weren't sure. When we started putting ideas of, we did the SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. I got that out of order. But anyway, when we did that, it was clear that our ideas were all on the same page. We were thinking along the same lines of what was important, what were our strengths. And one of the takeaways I enjoyed is when we all stepped back from our little sticky notes on the board, I think weaknesses and threats were the lightest filled with stickies. We had a lot of strengths and we have a lot of opportunity. And if there was a 30,000 foot view, I think that was the takeaway for the entire day for me. So anybody else want to fill in all the stuff I probably missed?
I thought that was a wonderful recap. I think the only thing that I would mention too is just that the feedback from the staff that occurred in their meeting, as well as the feedback from the parents that took the time to come to the in-person session, was also included and factored in to a lot of those conversations. They did a similar analysis, and so we were able to include that in there. So I want everyone to know that the voices for those that took the time to come out and give their opinions were also represented.
Yeah,
Totally
that's
considered.
actually where we started that day. Thanks for reminding me, Becky. That was early. I was getting my coffee.
And I would just encourage everybody that, you know, we haven't come back. This is our first opportunity as a group to have discussion a little bit, but, you know, this will take more work. We kind of did the groundwork and putting in placeholders for what you just read, Brian, but, you know, I mean, Justin, but I think we're all committed to doing the continued work to get a living document that we can actually use as a resource every month, every quarter, and reinvest in that. So I think we have a little bit more work to be done from there to get a full document.
And Brittany, to take something that you have mentioned before, you know, what we haven't done yet is in any way kind of merge what we've done with kind of the guiding principles that we had adopted kind of previously that Mr. Bryan talked about a lot at the meeting and things. And I don't think in any way those are incompatible, but the final living, breathing document, I think, is going to kind of meld all of those together. And I agree, we've got some work to do. And I do have to say, you know, everybody's willingness to be open and honest, and to you know, to express their opinions and to listen to people's opinions, even the ones we didn't necessarily like, was really important. And I think present company perhaps excluded. Everybody did it with grace and courtesy, and that was nice and appreciated. Anything else on that?
I have a quick question. I'm just curious. I know that we had written a little letter summary to share, and I was just curious what the status of that was.
I know. Is that the one that I think we threw around a couple of comments and some input
Yes.
among the board members? Was that going to be distributed or sent to Veronica for distribution? Was that
Yes.
that was the last thing I recall.
Or
We've
Veronica
learned-
or Brian.
Well, yeah, we've learned the hard way. It should go to Veronica with a CC to Brian, so that
Okay.
we don't get in trouble with Brian or Veronica. But no, I think that communication was going to be distributed through Veronica with Brian's thumbs up. So
Okay.
yeah,
And they
and
have it.
I think we had finalized it.
I thought so too.
Brian,
Okay,
do you
well,
know Brian, don't speak, just a nod. Do you know if you've received that yet, or?
No, I have not.
Okay, that was not a nod or a no. Beth, you made all the final edits to it, right? Were you working on that? Okay, so I think,
Yes.
yeah, I'll run through my last email on it, but Jack,
I'll
I don't want to
double check.
overstep. I don't want to overstep, but I think if we just go ahead and forward it on to Brian and
Yeah.
Veronica, and let's get that out. Yeah.
That's where I
Yeah,
thought it
like
was.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Anything else on that? Nope. Okay. Committees, finance committee, we've covered. Marketing, Becky and Justin. Other than your deep dive into the finances that you mentioned.
Yeah. So again, kind of going back to that goal we talked about from the board meeting, we're looking at some community involvement, especially interaction during the summer. And Becky, feel free to step on me here with any input. But we were talking about some of the festivals. There was a children's festival I can't remember the name of. I mean, everything is like 2+ years removed now since we haven't done anything in a festival since. But there was one in downtown Littleton where there was reading to the children and book clubs and puppets and all kinds of stuff. I'd love to see MPA get involved in some of that. And I shouldn't say that. The marketing committee would love to find a way for all of us to get involved in that and have some representation at events like that to bring more attention to the school. We're
What
talking
about even
about
someplace like the Unicorn Festival that is at Clement Park?
yeah, I've heard mixed reviews about that place. So, but exactly, there's a lot
You
of
haven't
events
been
at
talking to
Clement
my
Park.
daughter because she has no mixed reviews.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe we need some input there. My daughter, I try to drive as fast past that sign as we can. So, but that's a great example. Then there's the music festivals where the local schools perform. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, there will be a lot of opportunity as we start to return to some in-person activity where we should look at those opportunities to put MPA's name on some things, whether it's through sponsorship or a booth or, just a way to host something. We even brainstormed the idea. I don't know if we could pull it together, but, obviously we kind of all go into our, reverse hibernation mode in the summer. We don't see each other until the next school year, but for the kids to be able to get together, even if it was like a parking lot food truck evening where we could invite parents out or something like that. And we've got lots of space now, the parking lot, the extra parking lot too. So just some raw ideas. We know that there's a volunteer appreciation party, I believe, that Mr. Bryan's asked for some assistance on. So we're working on some ideas there. And one of our needs or somebody we need to identify through the school staff is someone that can help us get back on top of our social media. And Brian, I don't know if somebody's addressed this with you, but with the loss of Amy, we don't have someone making sure our Facebook and Instagram and all of our social media posts are current. And I know Veronica's probably feeling pretty overwhelmed at the moment with all that she's taken on. So we didn't want to dump that on her. And then Becky, did you want to touch on some the kid visits and the parent night?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that Justin was talking about are really good ways to try to get out in the community and find kiddos that we don't have. So we talked about the fact that, homeschool, there's definitely room for new kids coming from outside, as well as our lower L first, second, third. There's room for kids coming from outside, but we would love to do work internally to help retain the children that we have as well and try to build that sense of community back. So that's some of what Justin was talking about, like the nights, here at MPA and being able to do some events that are within the school. One of the things that we're working on is trying to do a upper L for a day so that everyone that's in third grade can go see what upper L is all about and get excited about next year and hopefully stick with the program. And then we'd also like to do lower L for a day to get the kindergartners into those lower L classrooms so that they can get excited about what next year looks like. So just trying to kind of build the community, the excitement within the kids that, they're in the right place and they know that next year is going to be a great year. So those were a couple of them, and we'll propose those to you, Brian, a little bit more formally so that you can present to roundtable and not just throw it on the teachers. I know they'll have great ideas and come to us with a really good way to go about that, I'm sure. And then the other thing that we had talked about was trying to figure out another parent ed night or something where we can try to do something in April before the year end for those families that haven't really gotten to spend much time in the school. I know you had talked about the silent journey and some of those things, so try to get that on the calendar. And I think that was it.
Yep, I think that covers us.
Because it's
We're
between page 1 and 2. Jack,
Do that again, Brittany. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Board election planning. I think we might have
we skipped that piece.
skipped it.
I was good. Yeah, I was looking at it. So we wouldn't have forgotten it. Thank you, though. How about if we do SAC and then I'll come back to Becky on that. Thank you, Brittany.
Go ahead, Beth.
She says she needs one moment.
Yeah, sorry, I was cutting
Oh,
and
you got
pasting
it?
things. So hold on just a sec. As far as the SAC stuff, we did rework the parent survey. And I know that in Brian's report, there's a link so you can look through the questions. And also I emailed the link to you guys just in case that link didn't work. Anyway, we tried to make the survey a little more pertinent to the COVID. Sorry, there's all manner of noises here, so I apologize. Anyway, we're trying to make it more pertinent to the COVID situation. So we went through and I think we probably changed every single question to some degree, but not in such a way that it won't still be comparable to past surveys. So that's kind of the gist of it. So if you look through it and you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you guys about it. And I did actually send meeting minutes over to Brian. So if you want to look through our thought processes, it's pretty much all spelled out there too.
Beth, the link that I have is like, it almost appears like it's an active survey. Is it okay if we take this survey or do?
Let me get back to you on that because it was given to the SAC the SAC group as a beta test. So probably it would be okay, but
I don't know.
let
that
me
Sarah
make
has
sure
switched
first.
it.
But we
Okay.
haven't made it live yet, so I think what
So it
we'll
should be
do, so yeah, everyone test it. And then we can just make a fresh copy and a fresh link and send it out that way.
Okay.
I went through it twice. You can go through the whole thing and then just hit clear form at the end if you don't feel like it being submitted. So you, even if it was live, we'd still be able to go through it
Right.
just to see what it all says.
Perfect.
I guess the question is this is about the time of year we send it out. So if we need your thumbs up so that we know I would love to send it out by Friday so that families have time over spring break to fill this out. We can resend it again because, email links get buried, emails get buried, but the sooner we can get it out, the sooner we can get responses back to you.
So if you guys all would take a moment to review it in the next couple of days, I can follow up via email about Thursday this week to make sure that you've all had a chance. And if you have any comments, is that enough time?
Yeah, and would people be opposed to the idea of giving giving the okay to go forward? I'm not even sure we need a formal vote on it because it's really within, the SAC committee. But to say, go ahead and send it out, as Brian says, on Friday, subject to anybody raising questions or concerns between now and then.
I'm completely okay with that. And thank you, Beth and Brian, for your work and all the other SAC members for their work on that.
You too.
Yeah, I feel good having helped put it together.
She did a lot. She was the guinea pig.
No, and it's just got, it just reiterates, there's a lot of people who do a lot of work that even those of us on the board don't always know how much effort goes into the stuff that they do. And so it's all appreciated whether we're able to individually recognize it or not.
Yeah, it's a really good accountability committee, and parents such as Sarah and Chris, and the list goes on. They just dedicate time. And so I think the survey you're going to see is really more from a parent perspective on how it works and the information collected, so that we're getting a true, maybe I won't say true, but a better parent understanding than us making it on a committee or in the office through the school lens. And so I'm excited for what information this survey will provide, because the world has changed since that last survey was really built about 3 years ago. So,
And we even have a temporary pandemic section, I believe.
mhm.
And we acknowledged that not all the questions will match up perfectly with what we had in the past for data comparison, but some of it we'll still be able to compare to some extent. There were quite a few questions we changed from yes, no to having some sort of scale so that parents can give us a more accurate reflection of how they're feeling.
I think it's good. I don't think, well, I'm sure we'll still get some fun comments at the end, but they won't be that we're not paying attention to COVID this time.
Right. Thank you, Beth, and everybody on the committee for that. Circling back to Becky and the election planning, everything in progress, everything good? Are we overwhelmed with candidates?
So I would love to report that we are overwhelmed. Unfortunately, at this point, I do not have any candidate applications that have come into the office. So I will be looking the week after spring break to set up a booth in front of the school and ask questions and give out flyers to our families that, you know, walk kids up in the morning, to hopefully try to bring awareness to anyone that's not reading the newsletters. So they know what the board is and how to go about applying. If there are any, you know, staff or teachers listening that may have good parents that would be interested in being part of the election process, we would love to have them submit their letter of interest to Veronica as well. So I would just say anything you can do as a board to get the word out to those individuals that may be interested in applying would be great.
I just want to put this out there too, that I don't know the right way to go about it, but to say that anybody could email anybody on the board to say, can I talk to you for 5 minutes and see how it works, or get some questions answered, I think would make a big difference, but I don't know how to get that out there either.
Absolutely. And I did include my email address to just say, you know, you can reach out to me if you have questions. And it does say that as well, that our emails are on the website. So if anyone wants to reach out to others on the board. So if anyone wants to man a different day the week after spring break, I'd welcome anyone that's willing, that would be, you know, able to stand out there even for 5-10 minutes at Carline to address questions and try to, you know, help folks make a decision if this is right for them or not.
I'll take a day if you'd like.
And it has been, Brian. Sorry,
It's okay, go ahead, Brittany.
apologize. My connection is just, I can't. In the past, I think we've asked teachers if they're putting out their newsletter.
Yeah.
Because if experience says anything, teachers often have their ear to the ground on which parents might be, you know, a good recruiting method if they're willing to put that in their newsletter.
Yeah.
As a
Brian,
request from us, first, just a request.
I'll add it to my staff communications.
Thank you. Sorry, Brittany, I wasn't cutting you off. We got most of that. So thank you. Thank you. Very good idea.
Becky, I was
Okay.
going to say, if you want each of us, maybe each of us should take a day or like an hour here and there. Like maybe we could do that kind of thing where we could just really, I don't know, push it.
That's my hope. I mean, if everyone has a day that they could just respond to me directly that works well that week, if there's mornings, you know, if you can say I could do Monday or Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, that would be fantastic. And then I can try to sort through who we have for each of the days. That would be great.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thanks, Becky. All right, moving on to monthly meetings, staff meeting. Ashley's not here. Anything, Justin, from the most recent staff meeting that you want to add?
I don't know that, Brian, did we have a recent staff meeting? Did I miss it? I'm assuming I missed it.
No, it was very short. We had CMAS training
That's
to
right.
deliver to the staff. And then March is also parent-teacher conferences. So one of the agreements we have with the staff is very few meetings during the month of March. So.
Okay. PTA, Becky. And by the way, so much stuff coming out of PTA and stuff that's really great. So a huge thank you to them. And I was noticing the turnover in leadership and stuff, and that whole process is a big change from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't able to be on this month, but they did report out, that they have a new vice president that will be coming in to serve. It seems like there's still that much larger parent involvement that I've seen in years past, so that's good to see as well. And then they've coordinated 3 separate events for year end, so you may have all seen that, but there's a lower L event that this year, you may have noticed it has preschool included, so that's new. They're taking on having the 3s and 4s in those events, so that's exciting, I think, for a lot of families. And then they're doing upper L and then a school-wide event at year end. So just taking on a lot of things to try to get the community, engaged again, which I really appreciate them all doing.
Thank you. Nothing, I don't have anything to report on Jeffco. I will send something out, not directly related to Jeffco, but again, on kind of a legislative update. I got it today after I landed and didn't get a chance to send it on, but I will, just kind of as FYI. Anything from JCSC this month, Becky? Who's not here? Or I mean, Brittany, sorry. Okay, we'll just skip that. Oh, please pass on my apologies. My Zoom just quit. So, board calendar. Anything this month, Becky?
No, beyond the elections, that's the primary focus of the calendar for this month.
Okay. I think somebody failed to attach the minutes for February to the agenda and to the board packet this month. I don't know who that is, but whoever it is feels really bad about it, and we'll make sure that it gets added with these minutes for the April meeting. Any closing comments from anybody other than Brian? The only thing I wanted to mention is, we were going to have the meeting with the staff at the next meeting on April 6th. So there may be some logistics surrounding that. So keep that in mind. We'll prepare for that at the next meeting. We'll also, I think we'll have time to get the annual meeting set up and stuff. So just keep that in mind as well.
Couple of things. I missed Amy's party. I feel so bad, but Amy's one of the best. I appreciated all those years working together. We went through some hard times, and we had to draw on each other's experiences. So she'll be missed, but she's still around. And I did mess up the live streaming tonight, but I did figure that out. I can teach Jen how to do it, unless the board wants to own setting up the Zoom and the live stream. So you let me know. If not, I'm gonna teach Jen Webb how to do it as well. The other thing too is, Becky, thank you for going to the charter annual conference. It's nice to sit in a few sessions with her and kind of talk about things that really are in motion. So especially when it comes to the marketing committee and the future visioning of the school. The other thing too is MPA turns 25 come August. So there's a lot of things to think about and talk about. And I just also want to put on your radar, Roundtable's working on the family handbook, and we'll try to get you that, I don't know, draft proposal. April's a tough one by the April meeting, but it might be ready by the May. The second is kind of going through the staff handbook. That's another task of Roundtable. Just that one gets a little bit more complex because there is some board oversight in both of those. And then with new leadership coming on, I think probably June, the staff handbook should be ready to go so that come the new fiscal year, all these handbooks are ready. Veronica needs fee structures right now just to communicate with parents. And then handbooks are part of the registration process, which starts come late July, early August. So that's why fees come first, handbooks come second. So I just wanted to clarify on that. Other than that, well done. I really enjoyed our Saturday together. You're a tremendous board. Just stick to the strategic plans and the goals of the school, because they serve me well every day and they serve the staff well. So with grace and courtesy, thank you.
All right, and again, we started off, or I said something at the beginning, but again, thanks to the staff for everything that they've done. Enjoy spring break, everybody. All right. Can we have the Christina Grant Memorial motion, please?
I'll move.
All.
Then we adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned at 7:33 p.m. Highly efficient. Thank you, Mr. Bryan, for enduring. And thanks to everybody. And again,